Hi there everyone, my name is Lauren. Welcome to my channel. So I wanted to kick things off with doing a video that I have wanted to do for a little bit here, and that is going to Disney World with a toddler. So back in November, my husband Mike and we went on our first trip to Walt Disney World as parents, bringing along our son Jordan, who was 15 months at the time. So bringing along a toddler to Walt Disney World for the very first time. It was a super exciting trip, but it definitely taught us a lot about going to Disney as parents. I was very surprised when I was trying to research for this trip in particular. There was very little information out there as to going to Disney as a parent and with a toddler, and any tips or tricks that existed to help make the trip a bit easier. So Mike and I had been going to Disney for a long time. We had completed 9 trips in the past 5 years before going on this trip. So we tend to know our way around Disney, but we were always doing that as a couple of adults and never really doing it as a mom and dad. And boy, is it different going as a parent and going with a toddler. So I wanted to make this video so that way I could share that knowledge with you, the tips and tricks that we had learned along the way that we could share with you to help make your trips any easier. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so starting it off, let's talk with transportation to Walt Disney World and arriving at Walt Disney World. So we don't live anywhere in the south or in the vicinity of Walt Disney World, so we have to fly in. So then arriving into the Orlando airport, we chose to take the Magical Express, the complimentary transportation from Orlando airport to any resort at Walt Disney World. The first tip that I have here is in the airport, really take the time and let your kid kind of acclimate to where they are and don't feel like you have to rush down to get anywhere. So we got off the plane, we took the time to change Jordan's diaper, and then kind of moseyed our way down and really took our time in order to make sure we had lots of space getting on that monorail connection system, that little connector from the actual gates to the main terminal. Can get very crowded, especially as flights coming in for Disney. You tend to get crowds that flock the first monorail that comes in there. So we took a little bit more time and waited to get on a monorail, and it ended up being a lot more empty, so that way we had more of the car to ourselves. And with that, we were able to let Jordan kind of see what was going on. He seemed to really enjoy it, so really enjoy that time. We grabbed our bags and then we went down and got on the Magical Express. All right, let's talk about a little bit of the pre-planning that comes into going on Disney. So Disney is a huge resort. It's, I think, twice the size of Manhattan Island, and there is so much to do. And as anyone that's gone to Disney in any spectrum, as a family, as an adult knows, you need to really plan before going on this trip. So with that and going with a toddler, you really do need to change that mindset in that plan. It's important to lay down the plan, except that your plan becomes much less filled. So my first tip is to really know and understand the limitations of your toddler. So all kids are different, but most toddlers cannot keep up at the same pace that an older child or an adult can going from park to park to park. So when you're making your plans, you really need to narrow it down to the absolute essentials and really leave a lot of free time. You'll find that your toddler probably won't be able to jump from ride to ride as easy as you would without them. So really understanding that and setting that expectation for yourself that you're only going to get a few things done each day is absolutely critical. So on our trip with Jordan, we averaged probably only 4 rides a day, and that's all we really could hit between being in line, getting snacks, just giving Jordan time to run around and really enjoy what was going on. And that was okay. It was a pretty easy pace to maintain. Also, for a lot of the parks, you couldn't go on a lot with him. He was pretty short, being only 15 months, so he was limited on a lot of rides. So the second tip then to go along with that and understanding the limitations is know the physical limitations of your toddler as well. So really make sure you understand the height requirements for the rides, and how tall your child is, and also how brave your child is. Not every child is the same. Some are going to be extreme go-getters. Some are going to be a little more timid on certain rides. Jordan is an adrenaline kid and basically will get on anything. So that made it really easy. The issue was he wasn't tall enough to go on a lot. So especially a park like Hollywood Studios has very few rides that don't have height requirements, so that a shorter child such as a toddler could get on. And Jordan is at an age and at a point where he really won't sit still. Shows like Frozen Ever After or the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular is something we didn't even try to do because we didn't think he would be able to sit down and really just sit and watch for that long. He tends to like to move and to be on things that are moving themselves, so we didn't even attempt that. So really when we were in Hollywood Studios, there were very few attractions that we could take Jordan on. Mainly we had Toy Story Midway Mania, Muppets, and his all-time favorite ride, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So in Hollywood Studios, we made sure that we prioritized hitting those attractions that Jordan was tall enough to get on. And then after that, we prioritized any rides that we wanted to go on utilizing the rider swap. Now, rider swap is a great thing to use, especially if you are traveling with somebody that isn't tall enough or maybe is too scared to go on a ride. So this applied for Mike and I for seeing Star Wars for the very first time. We wanted to ride Rise of the Resistance and Smuggler's Run. Jordan is not tall enough to go on either of those rides. So how rider swap works is the full party goes up to the entrance of the queue. You announce that you're going to do a rider swap. The party that wants to go first goes and waits in the full queue. The person who is going to wait during the first round stays back with your child and goes and does whatever while the first party goes, rides, and then comes out. After that, you utilize a fast pass to get into the queue. So the second rider gets to bypass the full line. So you're only waiting in that queue once. This is different, of course, with Rise of the Resistance, as it requires a boarding pass. So we had booked the boarding pass and told them that we would be rider swapping. So Mike's boarding time was extended further than mine was because he'd have to wait for me to get back. Sticking with the pre-planning, something that we learned the hard way going to Walt Disney World with Toddler for the first time is you should probably plan very little for the first day of arrival, especially if you are coming in after a long drive or a long flight, and you know if your kid isn't going to necessarily get the typical nap that they got. So we came in flying, so Jordan can be hit or miss when it comes to sleeping on flights. Sometimes he sleeps, sometimes he doesn't. This time he slept an hour, which is an okay nap, but still not as long as he normally gets. We had made a reservation for Tep and Edo in Epcot that was supposed to be around 3:30, and we had landed at the airport around 1. So by the time that we had gotten to our resort, which was the Yacht Club, we had very little time to really get Jordan settled or let him kind of run around or even take a nap before getting to that reservation. So when we went to that reservation, Jordan was tired, and as most toddlers tend to do when they are tired, he broke down in the middle of dinner. The cast was phenomenal, of course, with this. It's Disney. They are excellent with kids. They reassured us that it's fine. It happens all the time. We were able to get Jordan settled, get him something to eat. But by the time we were out of dinner, he was passed out in his stroller for a second nap. So with that, really suggest leaving a good amount of time post-landing, like at least 6 hours, without any plan, and just leave it very flexible for you so that way you can adjust to what your toddler needs at the time. Another tip I have for you, and this is for any Disney vacation, not necessarily one with a toddler, but is to get yourself a travel agent for your vacation. A travel agent will help do all the planning for you to remove the stress out of planning a Disney vacation. And nothing will make your trip worse than having a stressed out mom or dad that's just gonna feed into your toddler. So take the stress off of you, get a travel agent that can help plan your Disney vacation. So I am a travel agent with Fairy Tale Journeys Travel Agency. We are a platinum earmarked travel agency with Disney, which means we've been recognized for our stewardship and our customer support and service by Disney. So any of the fellow travel agents that I work with or myself, we'd be happy to book your vacation and help plan you the best vacation possible. So feel free to reach out to me. My email will be in the comments below. If you are looking to book a Disney vacation, reach out. My services are completely free to you. It doesn't cost you a thing, and I will do my best to help make sure that you have the best value vacation and the most magical vacation possible. So please feel free to reach out to me if you are looking to book a Disney vacation. Sticking with the planning thing, but changing gears here, something that we should talk about is where are you going to stay on your Walt Disney World trip? So Walt Disney World has several resorts and hotels on its property, and they range in price from value, moderate, to deluxe. So that can be anywhere from $100 a night to up to $700 and higher. You could easily pay $1,000 a night in a hotel room at Walt Disney World to get a certain level of caliber. One thing that I would recommend is really look at the transportation options from each of those resorts. All Disney resorts come with complimentary transportation from the resorts to the parks. All of them. It's one of the best perks that comes with staying at a Walt Disney resort. Now, not every resort is created equal, especially when you look at some of the price differences. Deluxe resorts tend to be closer to parks, and with that they get slightly better transportation options. And what I mean by this is, at a minimum, every park will have at least a bus that goes from the hotel to the park. Buses are pretty basic. They get pretty crowded, and if it's your only means of transportation, they tend to be uncomfortable and not always the best with toddlers. Depending on where you stay, you might have other transportation options instead of the bus. So resorts in the Magic Kingdom area on the monorail loop actually have the monorail or a boat that you can take instead of going on a bus to get to the parks, which is a little bit quicker and a little bit easier to get to, especially when you're traveling with a toddler. Now, deluxe resorts are not always in everybody's budget. Luckily, there are a couple value and a couple moderate resorts that also have extra transportation perks associated with them. Starting with the value resorts, which tend to be cheaper or present the best value at Walt Disney World, the two resorts that I would recommend from a transportation-only perspective is Pop Century and Art of Animation. What they have that the other value resorts, which are the all-star resorts, don't have is they are on the Skyliner system. The Skyliner system is a new system that uses in-air gondolas, very similar to like a ski resort, to transport guests from Pop Century and Art of Animation to both Epcot and Hollywood Studios. Jordan loved the Skyliner system. It was actually probably one of his top 5 rides to go on when we used it to go to visit different resorts. One of the nice things, especially in the coronavirus pandemic going on right now, is only one family is placed in a gondola at a time. And depending on the size of your party, your family might take up an entire gondola by themselves anyway. It was a really easy to transportation because you could just carry your stroller on and carry your toddler on and have a nice, easy journey to either Hollywood Studios or Epcot. This is featured at Pop Century and Art of Animation. Moving ahead to the moderate resorts, another resort that is on the Skyliner system is Disney's Caribbean Beach, which is where I would recommend. As a secondary, another place that could be really great to stay are the Port Orleans, both Riverside and French Quarter, which offer boat transportation to Disney Springs. Coming into the deluxe category, most of the resorts have a very easy form of transportation, and several of them are actually walking distance to at least one Disney park. On this trip with Jordan, we chose to stay at Disney's Yacht Club Resort, which is the deluxe, but we actually got a pretty good deal on it because as a travel agent, I do watch for when deals drop in order to get my best bang for my buck. So we had chosen to stay at Disney's Yacht Club Resort. Why we had chosen this is Disney's Yacht Club is sitting directly on Crescent Lake, which is the lake and boardwalk area directly in between Epcot and Hollywood Studios, meaning that it is walking distance to both of those parks. The other resorts that sit on Crescent Lake or are the boardwalk area resorts are the Beach Club and the Boardwalk, along with the Swan and Dolphin resorts. Another great area to stay would, especially if you're going to be spending a lot of time in Disney's Magic Kingdom, is in the Magic Kingdom resorts or the monorail loop resorts, which include the Grand Floridian, the Polynesian, and Disney's Contemporary Resort. All of these have monorail access to Magic Kingdom, as well as boat access to Magic Kingdom. Under normal circumstances, so not in this coronavirus pandemic, they also have monorail access to the Transportation and Ticket Center, where you then transfer on to the Epcot monorail. So they also have a very easy form of access to get to Epcot. Also, new in 2020, they have completed the walkway from Grand Floridian, so which connects Polynesian by a much longer walk and Grand Floridian by a short walk to Magic Kingdom. So you don't even have to use those forms of transportation. You can actually walk there. Now, if these resorts don't fit your budget, but you really want to stay in the Magic Kingdom area, another place to check out would be Disney's Wilderness Lodge and Fort Wilderness, which offers cabins, both of which offer a boat to get to Magic Kingdom. While we're also talking about picking resorts, another thing that should be thought about as you're choosing what resort to stay at is which resort will you have more fun and enjoy staying in. With a toddler, you tend to have a little bit more downtime, and you actually end up spending more time in the room than you would going on a trip with older kids or just adults. So when we would travel, just the two of us, we tended to spend very little time in our actual resort. Now that we were with Jordan, we spent a lot more time in our room, which made it all the more worthwhile for us to stay in a deluxe resort. Another feature that we really wanted to make sure we had access to was a good pool. Jordan loves swimming at a very young age, and he loves spending any time in the water. So that made the choice for us to go to the yacht club very easy, as they have Stormalong Bay, which has a pool that we knew Jordan would love. And we were in the pool, I think 4 or 5 times during this trip, so we made great use of our times at the resorts. So that's something that you definitely just want to consider and make sure that it fits within your budget, but get a resort that you are going to be very happy and to spend some time at. While we're on this pre-planning topic, once you have picked your resort, one of the first things that you should do is request a crib or pack and play for your toddler if you aren't bringing your own. Disney does offer both cribs and pack and plays, but they are subject to availability. So you should make this request as soon as possible, so that way you have first priority. Jordan cannot sleep in a pack and play, so we needed a crib. So we put in the request for the crib and we were able to get it. It was delivered to our room once we arrived, and it came with clean bedding, a mattress, and the full foldable frame. While we're talking about sleeping, make sure that you pack all of your sleeping essentials for your toddler with you to bring to your resort. Hotels can be very strange for toddlers to sleep in. They tend to be a little bit noisier, the temperature might not be the same as what they're used to, and they might not be used to sleeping in the same room as mom and dad. Jordan sleeps in his own room, and we have found that when we're in hotels, any noise that we make in the room tends to wake him up. So what we packed with us was Jordan's sound machine, which we have a hatch rest, and that also serves as his nightlight. I would definitely recommend bringing a white noise machine, as any hotel you're going to stay in, there is a chance you could hear some noises from your neighbors, and you want to be able to drown that out so that way your toddler sleeps through the night. Alright, now that you've planned your Disney trip, let's talk about some things that you should bring with you, or that we found to be extremely useful. First off is a stroller. Now you can choose to bring your own stroller, or you can choose to rent one. If you are going to rent a stroller, I highly recommend renting from a third-party distribution such as Kingdom Strollers or Scooterbug, because they will offer better strollers than what Disney offers as rental. Disney's rental strollers are hard plastic strollers. They're not very comfy, and especially if you have a toddler, you want something that they can fall asleep and nap in, especially if your toddler can nap in strollers. Jordan could. Our stroller was a lifesaver. We definitely recommend a stroller that has the capability to lay back, so that way you can lay them down if you are stuck in the parks during nap time and can't find your time to get back to your resort. So as we're talking about strollers, something else that you should definitely think about when you are bringing your stroller is how you're going to mark your stroller so that way it's easy to stand out. Strollers, when you get on rides, have to be left in stroller parking. And cast members will move the strollers around in order to make space for other strollers as strollers leave and go. So there's a chance that when you leave your stroller, you come to go on a ride, and then you come back, that your stroller is not going to necessarily be in the same place that you had left it. It'll be in the same area vicinity, but it just might not be in the exact same spot that you parked it. So something that we did is on our first day in Magic Kingdom is we bought Jordan a balloon, a nice giant red Mickey balloon, so that way we could always find his stroller, and left that attached. Now, if you do get a balloon, a thing that you have to remember is going to Animal Kingdom, you have to be able to remove that balloon. Balloons are not allowed in Animal Kingdom as they pose a risk to the animals that are there. At the other park, you're good. So going to Animal Kingdom, be sure to remove that balloon if that's what you're using to market. Not only was this a souvenir that Jordan just loved to play with, we got some really great PhotoPass pictures with him and his balloon. It also just made it very easy for us to find our stroller, as we have a plain black Britax stroller, which we found is a very popular stroller in Disney World. So we were always able to find our stroller. It was an easy marking. Also, it helped whenever we got split up to go do something, being able to find one another, because you just had to look for the black stroller with the giant red balloon. Another thing that I highly recommend for bringing with you to Disney is what we refer to as a bug out bag. Now, every parent has, of course, a diaper bag. Diaper bags tend to be really big and carry more than what you need. What we purchased, and was a lifesaver on our trip, was this. And I will link this one in the description below. But this is what we referred to as our bug out bag. And what it is it was just a small, as you can see, fits in my hand here, little changing bag, which had its own changing mat here, had a interior pocket, which we used to store wipes and a travel size aquaphor in case we had a diaper rash, and then another pocket here for storing diapers. And we could fit about 5 size 4 diapers in this, which was enough that we needed for going into the parks every day. And what I liked about this is it was much smaller and much easier to take with you to the park, especially because now going through the parks you have to go through security, and big bags will cause you to stop and have to get checked. When it's nice and small like this, you just hold it in your hand and you walk through the scanner with it. The other thing that was nice about this is you weren't digging in a bag to get everything you need. This is all quite literally, like I showed here, attached together. So you didn't have to go digging through a bag to get everything. You had wipes, you had your diapers, and you had the changing pad, which then I just cleaned off with Clorox every night, with a Clorox wipe every night. And we would just refill this every time that we'd go out to the parks. It was a lifesaver. It even has just a little clip here, so you can just attach it to the handle of your stroller. So this was a lifesaver. I highly recommend this over a diaper bag. Of course, bring the big diaper bag for when you're in the airport or if you're driving in, but this is what you need for the parks. So highly recommend this. I think this was only like 20 bucks, so well worth it in the purchase. So while we were using the bug out bag, we also had a backpack with us to carry all of our cameras, our wallets, and stuff like that on Mike's back. So in that, I would also recommend that you pack an extra set of clothes. Toddlers get messy, and Disney is full of plenty of places to get messy, particularly lots of snacks to be eaten and dripped and drooled all over, as well as a lot of splash areas when we're not in a global pandemic. So you definitely want to be able to have clothes to change your toddler into should they get wet and get uncomfortable or get very messy, or worst case, you have a blowout. So we always packed an extra set of clothes for Jordan in Mike's bag. The other thing that you want to bring with you is pre-packaged snacks, and preferably their favorite snacks. So we actually ordered in snacks via Amazon's grocery delivery service, and what we had delivered were pre-packaged snacks of Teddy Grahams, which are Jordan's favorite, apple juice pouches, which he absolutely loves, and we mix it with water every day. All right, when you're in parks, a huge thing that we didn't utilize enough, and something that I definitely recommend for you to do, is find the baby care centers in each of the Disney parks. Each Disney park has its own baby care center, which is equipped with quiet rooms, so that way you can have a nice low stimulus location to just spend some time with your toddler. Nursing rooms, if you bring a baby and you still need to nurse your child. as well as just tables and chairs where you can feed your toddler a snack. They also are equipped with diapers, wipes, baby food, baby sunscreen, pacifiers, anything that you might need for sale there. There is one baby care center per each park, so I definitely recommend that you make sure you know where those are and that you utilize them on your trip. In Magic Kingdom, it is located just behind Crystal Palace, so that's in the main hub area across from the castle to the left as you're entering. In Epcot, it's in the Odyssey Pavilion, which is on the left as you're entering into World Showcase. There's a separate building that's kind of hanging out in the lagoon there. In Hollywood Studios, it's directly to your left as soon as you get into the parks. There's a little cabin shack there, and it's right around the corner from that. And then Animal Kingdoms, it's right behind Creature Comforts, which is the Starbucks location. So where that is as you're exiting Discovery Island, which is where you enter into the park, so where the Tree of Life is, and head towards Africa. That's how you will get to that one. Definitely recommend checking those out. They are a great location if you need any quiet time with your toddler, so something that we didn't utilize enough and I wish that we had. Also, while you're in the parks, something that I recommend doing is finding a space that you can just have your toddler run around in. If your child is anything like ours, Jordan, he just wants to run and he hates sitting in a stroller for a long time, and going from ride to ride and line to ride gets very boring for him, and he wants to just use his energy and run. So in every park we would try and find a space that we would feel comfortable with Jordan just getting to stretch his legs and run. So this would be somewhere that isn't crowded, that they're not going to be in and out of any queue, and that you feel comfortable that you can kind of take a step back and let them have a little bit of the run of the space. Now, of course, you want to do this safely and make sure you always have your eye on your toddler and you don't lose them, because that would be the most terrifying thing, I think. But definitely look for those places. Some spots that we recommended was in Epcot, in the backs of the pavilions. They tend to not be as busy, and it depends on which pavilion we're talking about here. But for example, Japan doesn't get very crowded, especially if you go to the right near the entrance to Takumite. There is a ramp there, and this is the access ramp to get up to Tokyo Dining and Teppan Edo. Nobody was there, and Jordan just loved running up and down that ramp. As well, in Epcot, there tend to be a lot of just open green spaces, so give your child some space to run. In Magic Kingdom, in the hub, there are little fenced-in grass areas, which are good places to go running around, as well as if you head back towards Dumbo and the Storybook Circus area. Over by Pete Silly's Sideshow, there tends to be a little bit of a run space. Usually there's a splash pad in Casey's, which is a great place to just go and let them run. Animal Kingdom tends to be a little bit tougher to find a good space. There is the Boneyard, which is a play around area over in the Dinosaur Land. Otherwise, there are the gardens around the Tree of Life, which could be a good place. And then Hollywood Studios also tends to be one that's a little trickier to find some space. What we found in that area is actually at night, around the Millennium Falcon and back in Star Wars Galaxy Edge actually was very low crowd. So that was a great space that Jordan was able to run to, nice and open, and I could see him everywhere there. Another place that would probably be good is in the animation courtyard, which is to the right of Mickey's and Minnie's Runaway Railway, over by Star Wars Launch Bay. There tends to not be a lot of people in there and not a lot going on, so that's another great place that you could probably just let them run and give them like 5 to 10 feet and follow closely behind. All right, another tip when you're going to Disney World is stick to your toddler's basic schedule at home. So when they typically nap at home, that's when they should be napping at Disney. And when they go to bed is when they should go to bed. I know it is tempting to stay up late and have them watch the fireworks, but that might not be the right for them. It might set you up for some crankiness in the future. Now, if you're gonna do it one night and to see the fireworks weren't going when we were there, so we kind of had that luxury of not having to worry about that. But when you go, if you want them to give them one night, you might cheat it, but make sure that you give yourself plenty of time the next day to relax and get your child back on schedule. It'll make the trip easier for everyone involved. All right, guys, my final tip for you guys on this is when you travel with a toddler, just relax and enjoy your time and just have fun. Don't worry about sticking to the schedule. Your toddler won't stick to it most likely. So just leave it loose, go with minimal expectations of getting a lot done, and just have fun and do what is right for your toddler in the time, and you will have the best of time. We really restricted ourselves in what we were planning on this trip, and it actually worked out for the best. We had some of the best times we had was just letting Jordan run around and do nothing in the parks. Probably my favorite memory is when we went to the Polynesian and just let him run around on the lawn there for a bit. He had so much fun. We had a couple of Polynesian drinks. It was a great time. Well, guys, that's it I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this and tuning in. I hope that this video was helpful and informative for you if you're planning your Disney vacation or thinking about going on a Disney vacation. Please feel free to comment below if you have any questions about going to Disney with a toddler or about planning a Disney vacation in general. I will do my best to answer it as best as possible. I am a travel agent with Fairy Tale Journeys Travel Agency. We are a platinum earmarked travel agency with Disney. So I would be happy to help you plan your vacation, as well as I would love to book your vacation. So if you are looking to book a vacation and want a travel agent, please reach out to me. I would be happy to book that for you and make sure that you have the best, absolute best time at Walt Disney World. So once again, my name's Lauren. I hope you have the most magical day, and thank you so much for watching. See you next time.